Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. May 7th, 2018.
The Kuhner Report is powered by Kelly Financial Services. Cleaning up your financial bull. Get the peace of mind that you deserve at Kelly Financial Services.
Okay, my friends, you're not going to believe this one. This one, even by the Moonbat standards, this is a new low. Okay, my friends, so here is now the absolute latest. You're not going to believe this. You want to know why so many illegals love to come to Massachusetts and Boston? This story says it all. This, just when you thought you heard it all. So, Chief Judge Patty Saris, she is a federal judge in Boston, has allowed, this occurred in fact last week, 2 illegal immigrants to get married in her courtroom. So she had 2 illegals. One of them is, I think I'm saying this name correctly, Jaime Antonio Alvarez Figuera, 29 years of age, and Tatiana Chavez Venegas, 23. Both of them are from El Salvador. Both of them are here illegally. Now, the groom, Figueroa, the groom Figueroa was arrested for a DUI. So not only did he come into this country illegally, he came in 2005. He then was arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol. He was completely drunk, posed a threat to everybody on the road. And so ICE has held him in custody, in jail, as he tries to fight his deportation hearings since April of last year. And the reason why ICE refuses to let him out on bail is they know once they let him out on bail, they're never going to see this guy again. Now, they claim that he's been working as a quote-unquote chef for the last 13 years. So basically, he's been cooking, whatever. He's been cooking pasta at one of these restaurants in Boston for the last 13 years, and now they call that a chef. So he boils a little bit of pasta and makes a few grilled cheese sandwiches, and all of a sudden now this guy's a chef. But anyway, so he has now been held, and he continues to be held in custody, in detention, pending the charges DUI and, of course, deportation from ICE. He's married to a woman, Tatiana Chavez Vanegas, both of whom, by the way, have a 2-year-old daughter. So they have a daughter out of wedlock. Tatiana is also an illegal. However, she is applying for asylum. Like many of these, like the caravan migrants, she's trying to claim that El Salvador is such a dangerous country to live in, and that MS-13 is trying to kill her and her whole family, that she's trying to claim political asylum. So, in a bid to save the husband, Figueroa, from being deported, what the liberal Moonbat judge did, I swear to you, was she said, aha, let me help him out. Let me help Antonio Alvarez out a little bit. And so she allowed for the 2 of them to get married in her courtroom. This way, now that they're a married couple, Antonio Alvarez can piggyback off of her claims of asylum, preventing ICE from deporting him because now he's an asylum applicant. And so it takes many years. And so the process of adjudicating their status as asylum seekers, this could go on for years and years and years. So she's allowing him to stay in the United States. We pay for all the meals. We pay for the whole thing. 3 square meals a day. He's got, obviously, jail. He's got shelter, clothing, the workout equipment, computer access, magazine subscriptions, ping pong tables, basketball courts. Whatever Antonio Alvarez wants, we pay for in prison. And if his wife succeeds in scamming the immigration court, then Antonio will then be a refugee, which means he will never be deported. So you see how the system works? So this judge, Patty Saris, allowed them to get married, and of course they were ready. Her lawyer made the appeal, saying that the two of them are in love, that they have a 2-year-old daughter, and would she allow them to get married? She said yes, and guess what? Shazam. They had a marriage license ready on the spot. On the spot. Some of the paralegals on her legal team served as the, the maid of honor, the witness. And there they were in the courtroom, and they got married. Now, because he's in jail on DUI charges, they were not allowed to hold each other or kiss. So there was no hanky-panky or anything. That is not allowed because he's under DUI charges, and so they had to be at separate rooms. Although they smiled at each other, they laughed, they giggled, and the judge even apologized to them. But because, he's driving under the influence, he's technically an inmate, that under law, you cannot allow any touching, any holding, any kissing, any caressing. And she felt very sorry about that. But the 2-year-old daughter was there to witness her mommy and daddy getting married. According to numerous media stories, the clerks that work for this judge were actually crying. They were overwhelmed with emotion, seeing at these two lovebirds, now these two illegals, getting married. All of this, by the way, on our dime. To me, I'm serious now. I fault Mayor Marty Walsh. And I would throw in even Charlie Faker. You guys couldn't cater it? I mean, really, if you're going to throw so much money at illegals, you couldn't throw in maybe a 3-4 course meal for everybody there, and the bride and groom and everybody in the courtroom? You guys couldn't get maybe a nice live Latino band for them? You couldn't get a nice wedding cake? You guys couldn't do that? You couldn't pay maybe for a nice wedding dress for that poor illegal immigrant woman? Huh? What's this state coming through now? That's it? You just get married, marriage certificate, wham bam, and then they're gone? And I would have given them 20 minutes in the corner. That's just me saying we can't do a wedding night because, your husband's a criminal. But in the corner, let's close the door, just right there, close the door in the closet, 20 minutes, have your wedding night. That's all. That's it. And a couple hours, everybody goes home happy, and there's a nice happily married couple. Instead, you wouldn't even allow them to kiss? I would sue them for that alone. I think they have grounds for a lawsuit. This is incredible. This is incredible. I have never heard of this in my life. Not only are you giving them sanctuary status, not only now are we pumping out $2 billion a year in welfare. So it's not enough for me to invite you to come. It's not enough for me to give you EBT, food stamps, Section 8, welfare checks, free education, mass health. Not only are you driving drunk on the road, potentially killing people, but now I got to freaking marry you in a courtroom so that you can prevent being deported? Honestly, I don't know what else to say. No one paid for my wedding. I never had no federal judge preside over my wedding. I mean, I never got that kind of treatment. The state didn't produce my marriage license. I had to go pay for my marriage license. I mean, I'm getting to the point now, really, if you can't beat them, join them. And, just treat me like an illegal. I don't want you to treat me like a citizen. No. No. In fact, you know what? After this, I'm going to give Grace a call. Maybe it's time to renounce the whole citizenship thing. I don't know, the passports, everything. I don't want to be treated like a naturalized American citizen. I just want to be treated like an illegal. Can somebody treat me like an illegal, please? So, let me ask you this. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. Chief Judge Patty Saris presided over the wedding of 2 illegal immigrants in her courtroom so that the groom can prevent being deported and can piggyback on his new wife's asylum application. What do you do with judges like this? A, and B, what do we now do with this couple, with the 2 lovebirds? What should we do? 617-266-6868. Should illegals be allowed to get married in our federal courtroom, even as one of them is being detained by ICE and is facing charges of driving under the influence? Should illegals have the right to be married in our courtroom, or are we now openly mocking the rule of law? 617-266-6868 is the number. Scott in Weymouth, you're up next. Go ahead, Scott.
Jeff, I'm telling you, good afternoon. You have me laughing. It is. It's ridiculous. I'm telling you, know what I'm thinking about doing, Jeff? I'm thinking about rescinding. I'm being facetious here. I'm thinking about rescinding my citizenship. I'm going to move to Mexico, become a citizen of Mexico. Then I'm going to cross the border here illegally. I'll be treated better. I'd have a better life. They'll treat me better. I'm telling you, Jeff, you're in the right industry. There's no shortage of material. It never ends. And I would just like to close this. This is a quick call for me today. Liberals are the domestic enemies of the Constitution that our forefathers warned us about back in the 1700s. Thank you for the call.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that call, Scott. No, the only thing I disagree with you on is just renounce your citizenship and say you came in from Mexico. Don't do the whole trip. Why would you do that? You could get killed by the drug cartels. It's dangerous down there. No, do what I'm going to do. I'm kidding. It's a joke. Okay, I'm joking to everybody. Just renounce your citizenship and then say, El Salvador. See, they don't even know the difference. Nobody can speak Spanish in the government anyway. No comprende inglés, El Salvadorian. El Salvadorian. Mio, El Salvadorian. Welfare, please. EBTO, please. Healthcare, please, molto importante. Jobo, please. And love, amore. I love my, no, not my wife. Great, no. Grace, girlfriend. Pay me marriage license, please. And pay the wedding.
Who's going to pay for the honeymoon, though, Jeff?
That could be on us. That could be on us. Now, I bet you they'll go back to El Salvador for the honeymoon.
Oh, of course.
The honeymoon, they go back to El Salvador, spend a few weeks there, and then they come back. The country they're fleeing asylum. So, no, look, but honestly, Brittany, I don't think it's fair to these 2 people. Where's the wedding cake? Where are the steak tips? Really, where's the 4-course, the 5-course dinner? Huh? What about the consummation? I mean, come on. They didn't even have a proper wedding night, for God's sakes. If I were them, I'd be suing. It's a violation of their human rights. 617-266-6868. There's a picture of the 2 lovebirds. She's got like a pair of shorts. Boy, doesn't leave much for, doesn't leave very much for the imagination. Let me tell you that. She's very low cut in terms of the bust there. Very high heels. He looks like he's been eating more than cooking. I'll be honest with you. Whoa, what a barrel on this guy. So all I'm saying is they've done very well for themselves in America. And I don't know what this guy's eating in prison, man, but whatever they're eating, I want some of it. What is it, a freaking buffet in there every day? Really, I'm looking at this. I'm like, this guy's 300 pounds. Anyway, they got a 2-year-old daughter. Hopefully she's, hopefully someone's taking care of her. I don't know who, but I hope somebody's taking care of her. 617-266-6868. So let me ask you this. 2 illegals in Boston get married in a federal courtroom. We pay for the whole thing, including the marriage license. One is now up on charges of DUI. ICE wants to deport him. Now it's going to be very hard to deport him because his wife is applying for asylum status. You have judges openly colluding with illegal immigrants to defy and circumvent immigration law. The judges are subverting the law. What do we do? 617-266-6868. You know, I'm just saying, as the taxpayers who paid for all this, they could have at least invited us to the freaking wedding. I mean, really, seriously. Since we're paying for it, I didn't get an invitation. Did you? Diaz in Dorchester. Go ahead, Diaz.
Mr. Jeff Corner, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How are you, Diaz?
It's been a long time.
I think that's a spoof, I think. All right. Jasmine in Seattle. You're up next. Go ahead, Jasmine.
Hello?
I'm sorry, Janine. My bad. Janine, how are you?
Hey, greetings from the Northwest to the Northeast.
So, Janine
back,
from Seattle. Welcome back, Janine from Seattle.
Welcome back, Brittany. I just want to make a comment on McCain. It was the last hour. Can I still do that?
Yes, but before we do that, Janine, can I ask you a quick question? Do you mind?
Yes.
I know things are crazy out there in the Northwest. A lot of moonbats, almost as many there as here.
Uh-huh.
But in Seattle, are federal judges like presiding over weddings between illegal immigrants?
Not that I know of, and if they do, I hope they're not, basically. I mean,
So, Janine,
we're
they're
already being broke.
They're crazy in Seattle, but they're not as they may be sleepless in Seattle, but they're not crazy in Seattle.
Right.
All right, go ahead, Janine. What's your point about McCain?
Well, he's gone even further down in my estimate. This man, he acts like a female. He's effeminate. He reacts to things like a female. He conducts himself like a female. All this jealousy and pettiness, it's not going to do him any good.
Janine, have you, if you don't mind me asking, have you attended many funerals in your life or wakes?
Yeah, quite a few.
Have you ever heard of anybody disinviting somebody at a funeral or a wake?
No.
I mean,
That's kind of unheard of.
I mean, Janine, I've been with people who have been on their deathbed, and like they're worried about meeting their maker. You know, I'm going to die. I'm going to meet God. I'm going to meet my maker. What's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my family? You know, I've never met somebody, honestly. Jeff, no, you make sure that jerk who insulted me never comes to the funeral. I've never heard of that, Janine.
Well, in my estimate, McCain needs to make peace with God before he drops his body. I'm telling you, it's not going to be a good outcome.
I'm with you, Janine. Thank you very much for that call, as always. To me, that's... Look, when you're dying, when you know you've got maybe days or weeks to live, I want to be right with the Lord. I want to be right with honestly, I want to be right with my Creator, with my family, with my friends. That's what I want to do. I'm not interested in settling scores. That's the last thing I want to do. But that's just me. 617-266-6868. More with your calls next. 226 here on the great WRKO. Okay, by the way, speaking of meeting your maker, I swear, there was a technician who came in during the break. I've never met him before. I just did like about a minute ago. Seems like a very nice guy. But when he first came in, never seen his face. Don't know this guy from a hole in the wall. And he just walks in, and he's a very serious guy. He takes his job very seriously. I swear for a second, I thought, is this like a shooter?
Do you really think that I would let someone walk in like that on you?
Well, I'm just saying, like we're supposed to have very good security here, and I've never seen this guy. And he walks in, he's got like a bit of a bulge in his stomach, and that's more like a pot, but it looked a little bit like maybe a gun. So when he walks in, no, I'm serious. So when he walks in, all I'm thinking is, forget John McCain meeting his maker. Am I ready to meet my maker? I saw my whole life flash in front of my eyes. Anyway, thank the Lord, he's a technician, nice guy. First name is also Jeff. I'm Jeff, he's Jeff. I said, thank the Lord. Now you introduced yourself. The next time you come in, I won't get a heart attack. 617-266-6868. Tom in Florida. You're up next. Go ahead, Tom.
Jeff.
Tom.
When you're talking to these boys like Charlie Baker and them, what they want to do is bring all them aliens over. Why don't you start telling them you're bringing over enough? You're doing too much for them. You're giving them too much.
Oh, there's no question about it, Tom. Look, and thank you for that call, because that's why I'm backing Scott Lively. I back him all the way. I think we need a good conservative primary challenger. I think Dr. Scott Lively is a genuine constitutionalist conservative. Charlie Faker has backed sanctuary cities to the hilt. There is no question in my mind. He's a big supporter of open borders. He's a big supporter of amnesty. He's a big supporter of sanctuary cities. Look, it's only this state. Us in California, to be fair. You got us in California. Nobody else behaves this outrageously. The only other place in the country, honestly, if I said to you, really, I said, hey, there's a federal judge, and she's now marrying illegals in her courtroom, and her clerks, I swear, are crying. They're crying like it's a genuine wedding. And they're, giving them the marriage license, and it's all on our dime. And they're doing this to prevent the guy, the groom, who's up on charges not only of being an illegal, but of driving under the influence, to prevent him from being deported. I would say, which state in the union do you think this is taking place? You would either say, honestly, California or Massachusetts. I don't know, Jeff. Door 1 or door 2? You're completely right. It's only us in California. Nobody else is crazier. Bob in Hudson, New Hampshire. Go ahead, Bob.
Good afternoon, Jeff. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Listen, 3 quick things to say. First of all, don't ever worry about that little 2-year-old girl. She has a very rich uncle that will take care of her. His name is Sam. The second thing is, I thought it was funny when you were saying that the judge had to follow the law and not allow them to, to hug each other or kiss each other.
Kiss each other.
It's against the law.
That's right.
It's really crazy funny. And the third thing is, you said, what should we do with these judges? Just to go off the beaten path just a little bit. I'm not worried about that judge right now. My concern is what they're going to do with the judge that allowed that freaking felon to kill that cop down in Yarmouth. The one that had 100 and something felony convictions. 112,
45
Bob. Convictions for felony. And that guy was allowed. I want to know how do you go about getting a petition signed to have that judge held accountable for what happened?
Bob, you're completely right. In fact, you know what the problem in this state is? If no one else is going to say it, honestly, I'm going to say it. Many of our judges, they're the criminals. They belong in jail. Starting with that judge that let that lunatic,
the
murderer on 112 criminal charges. I would send that judge to jail, and this one as well. She likes to preside over weddings. No problem. You want to be a wedding planner? You can do it behind bars. No problem. We'll take care of it.
How do you start petitions, Jeff? How do you go about doing that? Because I have no problem starting that.
We got to start impeaching judges. Go to, and thank you for that call, Bob. Brittany, what are you saying?
If you want to do a petition, you can just go on change.org.
Change.org.
And make up your own petition and try to get the judge fired. But
okay. No, let's start. Look, one judge, at least it sends a message, okay? We start with one judge, and then we go to another and another. So let's start with this judge. Okay, that's her name is Chief Judge Patti, Patti, Saris, Saris. Judge Patti Saris, Saris. Go to change.org. Let's get honestly, if you're willing to do it, I'm going to do it. Let's get a petition started and let's get her removed from office. I know it's just one judge, but if we don't start with one, how are we going to start this revolution? So let's start with one, and then tomorrow will be 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe these judges will start learning to respect the law. 617-266-6868. Okay, breaking news. The NRA is naming a new president. Evan Heidenrich is in the WRKO newsroom. Evan, who is the new president of the NRA? 2:37 here on the great WRKO. Okay, my friends. A lot of you want me to talk about Rosie O'Donnell. She has now exceeded, it turns out, the limits for campaign contributions, which is exactly what landed Dinesh D'Souza in prison. And so many are saying, hey, if it's good enough for Dinesh, it should be good enough for Rosie O'Donnell. The only reason why I haven't done that story is because tomorrow at 1:05, we're going to have an exclusive newsmaker interview with Dinesh D'Souza on this very topic. Okay. Later on, I want to play some Rudy, and I want to play a former assistant FBI director on what is really happening at the FBI. And Rudy is now saying he's laying out the parameters for how Trump will sit down with Robert Mueller. But first, very important story. The media is downplaying it, and I want to give a big hat tip to Breitbart for having the guts and the courage to pursue it. This Trump derangement syndrome is getting worse and worse, it almost seems, by the week. And as you know, it is now routine for death threats to be issued against the president, for prominent Hollywood celebrities to call for him to be killed. Well, now they're drawing murals, pictures, on schools, on the walls, the buildings of schools, demanding that the president be decapitated. Listen now to this latest story. It just shows you how out of control things are becoming and the level of hatred and demonization now being directed against this president of the United States. In Chula Vista, California, prominent local artists have now painted a school mural, listen to this, depicting an Aztec warrior, I'm looking at the picture right now, carrying the severed head of President Donald Trump. It is on a spear. So the decapitated head of Trump is, the spear is through the mouth of the president. It's basically now on the spear. It's a severed head. And in the other hand, so that's the left hand of the Aztec warrior. The other hand is a heart, a beating heart, presumably ripped out from Trump's chest. And this is actually considered art, I kid you not, in California. It is on the side of the wall of a building of this local school. And the person, the artist who, the main one who composed it, who drew it, Sasha Andrade Mercado, said that he drew this mural depicting a, decapitated, killed, cannibalized Donald Trump because it's a wake-up call to the racist nation that Trump has created. And so he is urging, he says, resistance to the Trump dictatorship, and it's a call to arms. Now, this has created a tremendous uproar, understandably, and now the work has to be taken down from the school, which has gotten numerous complaints, because it is a public threat, which is illegal, to murder and cannibalize, decapitate the President of the United States. However, undeterred, this artist says he's going to paint the exact same replica on another building that's not going to be on government property, public school property. He says he wants to do it somewhere else to continue his vision of the need to resist Trump. Now, this obviously comes in the wake of last year of Kathy Lee Gifford posing with a decapitated, severed head of Trump full of blood on it, a fake head, ISIS style, which, by the way, she has revoked her apology for and is now gearing up for a new comedy tour. The Aztecs were people who regularly severed the heads or decapitated their enemies. They also engaged in rampant cannibalism. They performed many blood sacrifices to appease their gods. That's something political correctness never teaches you, that many of the so-called indigenous native tribes were some of the most brutal, bloodthirsty in human history. They're now celebrating Aztecs and their culture of blood sacrifice and cannibalism as long as the alleged victim is Donald Trump. This is how unhinged, how hateful and deranged the anti-Trump resistance left has become. And it's not just school murals. By the way, I said this in our pre-show meeting. I said, just reverse it. I go, honestly, just reverse it. Replace Trump's head with Obama. Same picture, same everything. Except it's a severed head of Obama with a spear through his mouth with the left hand, and the right hand is holding the beating heart of Barack Obama that was ripped out from his chest. The uproar from the local media, the California media, the national media, the mainstream media would be so loud and so deafening that our ears would burst, our eardrums would burst. This, nothing. Nothing. Had it not been for Breitbart, the country wouldn't even know this story existed. Okay. Jeff, let it go, Jeff. It's one artist, Jeff. Okay, well, Kathy Lee Gifford, that's another one. Oh, Madonna threatening to blow up the White House. Oh, that's another one. Okay, but whatever. Let it go, Jeff. Let it go, Jeff. Okay. Antifa. They're back. So the group that has been going around college campuses, not just in California, in Missouri, in Illinois, in New York, in Vermont, they've been all over the place, assaulting conservatives, beating up conservatives, overturning cars, smashing banks, smashing businesses, burning down buildings, shouting down speakers, conservative speakers, assaulting speakers, assaulting old ladies as they did here at Boston Common with their black masks and their black leather uniforms. Well, now they struck again. During May Day celebrations, when the international left comes out by the millions around the world to call for a socialist revolution in California, listen to this. The Antifa's so-called Red Guards, the LA cell of Antifa, hung an effigy of President Donald Trump and then burned the effigy of Donald Trump during their celebration and their call for a violent revolution against the United States of America. And in particular, not only did Antifa call for the murder and assassination of President Trump openly, publicly, and burned his effigy. However, they even said this, quote, both on their blog and in an official statement, quote, we must carry out military actions against the enemies of the people. We must steel ourselves in the fire of class struggle everywhere it is in its sharpest stages, such as production and housing. So they want to engage in military acts, according to them, against Trump's supporters and conservatives. The enemies of the people are Trump and those who support him. Furthermore, the activists also called for, quote unquote, military actions against all non-communists, i.e. conservatives, libertarians, constitutionalists, independents, whatever. In other words, if you see them, kill them. Only through revolutionary violence can the masses create real political power. So here you have a terrorist organization, that's what Antifa is, a hate group, that's what Antifa is, openly calling for the murder of the president, the murder and attacks on any conservatives or Trump supporters, and the revolutionary violent overthrow of the American government. So far, none of them have been condemned by the Democrats, by the mainstream media, or by the liberal left. No matter how many people they attack, how many buildings they burn, how many ATM machines they destroy, how many cars they overthrow, how many conservatives they assault, how many old ladies they assault, no matter how many conservative speakers they shout down, they can go on with their mayhem, chaos, and violence, and nobody refuses to lift a finger. That's the kind of climate that this anti-Trump hysteria and never Trump rabid hatred is causing in this country. And this is what's happening on the streets. This is what's happening, obviously, in Hollywood, in the pop culture, now in art. Well, it's gone all the way up, as you know, to the deep state, to the Democratic Party, and to the FBI itself. And so now, as I reported last week, special counsel, the assassin himself, Robert Mueller, is now insisting that President Trump must sit down with him in an interview under oath to answer at least 49 questions that he says will take 2 to 3 days in the hopes of impeaching the President of the United States by nailing him on a process crime. He wants to nail him on perjury, on lying to the FBI, on a misstatement, whatever. Well, Rudy Giuliani, who's now becoming Trump's top lawyer, went on George Stephanopoulos, and laid out the parameters of how he would allow Trump to sit down with Mueller and be interviewed under oath. And here are the conditions. As Rudy put it, I want to give my client, i.e. President Trump, the Hillary treatment. How the FBI treated Hillary is exactly the way I want the FBI now to treat the President of the United States. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Roll it, Brittany.
But he did testify before the grand jury. Is the president willing to do that?
But only for 2.5 hours? Only with an arranged format? Would we be willing to do that? I'd rather have the Hillary Clinton treatment.
I think President Clinton was before.
But I would rather have the Hillary
more
Clinton.
than 2.5 hours.
No, he was 2.5 hours in the grand jury. Maybe 3. We'll take 3. But Hillary Clinton treatment is what I'm looking for. And that is no under oath, only a Q&A, and then we get the questions in advance, and they write the report 2 weeks before.
Well, he has briefed you on the topics he wants to discuss. Are you confident the president will not take the fifth in this case?
Oh, how can I ever be confident of that? When I'm facing a situation with the president and all the other lawyers are, in which every lawyer in America thinks he'd be a fool to testify, I've got a client who wants to testify. Please don't. He said it yesterday, and Jay and I said to ourselves, "My goodness, I hope we get a chance to tell him the risks that he's taking." So he may testify. And we may actually work things out with Bob Mueller, because working with him directly is good. But if they keep undermining it, and we have situations like Judge Ellis saying that they're out of control.
Look, I know Trump wants to testify because he's an innocent man. He wants to clear his name. But I'm telling you, if I'm Rudy Giuliani or Jay Sekulow, his 2 top lawyers on this, I would pin him down. I would handcuff him. I'm not kidding. I'd tie him to a chair. No way are you going in there and being interviewed by Mueller. It's an ambush. It's a trap. Don't do it. However, I like Rudy's suggestion. I'm serious. I think Rudy may be onto something. You know what? To head off a possible subpoena and going to the courts and seeing whether the grand jury can compel Trump to testify against his will with Robert Mueller. You know what? Let's give us the Hillary treatment. We want the questions in advance. We want all of his lawyers in the room, 2.5, 3 hours tops, and we want his exoneration written 2 weeks ahead of time. So you exonerate my client before, you give him the questions ahead of time, you make sure his legal team is present, and no more than 2.5, 3 hours. A nice little dog and pony show. If you're willing to do that, President Trump is willing to sit down, no problem. But they're not willing to do it. In other words, they had one set of rules for Hillary, and they want another set of rules for President Trump. It's a trap. Mr. President, don't fall for it. They want to subpoena you. You defy the subpoena. You tell them, go fly a kite. You want to go to court? Let's take it to court, because you're going to lose in court. My friends, the president should never sit down with Robert Mueller. You don't sit down with mercenaries and assassins. So let me ask you this. Should Trump be given the Hillary treatment? The way the FBI treated her, should it be the same thing for the President of the United States? 617-266-6868. Your calls. Next. 2:55 here on the great WRKO. Okay. It's not just the Cooner Man and others that are saying the FBI is out of control. It has gone rogue. Listen now to former assistant director of the FBI, Kallstrom, openly now say Trump should never sit down with Mueller. There is a fifth column within the FBI that wants to get him at all costs. Roll it, Brittany.
Tucker, I don't believe in kicking in doors unless there's a reason for it. And I don't believe for having outrageous search warrants, you know, unless there's a real bona fide reason. Is there a criminal predicate for this? I'd be surprised if there was. If it is, it's probably some concoction from some, you know, stupid intelligence contact. Or is it a national security predicate? I find that would be preposterous. You know, I just think these people are out of control. From the very time that Donald Trump was the nominee of the Republican Party, there has been a conspiracy, a fifth column, call it what you want, that has tried to stop him from getting elected, and number two, stop his effective work for the people of this country. And look at the magnificent job he's done in the economic front, in the foreign relations front, in a year and a half. In my view, more than the last three presidents combined.
Bingo. Bingo. There is a fifth column within the FBI that has been out to get him, prevent him from getting elected, and then to bring him down after he got elected. And Mueller is the head of that fifth column. Whatever you do, Mr. President, don't sit down unless you get the Hillary treatment. You get the Hillary treatment, go ahead. But unless they treat you like Madam Hillary, don't do it. Larry in his car. Thanks for holding, Larry, and welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jeff.
Hi, Larry.
I want to make a remark on Mr. McCain.
Yes, go ahead.
And the remark is that, first of all, let me start by saying, you know, of course, thank you, you know, to all the past, present, and future servicemen and women of this great nation of the United States of America. And for Mr. McCain, if he's a Christian, our Christian teachings teaches us that if somebody hits you on one side of the cheek, to turn the other. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I've been to a few wakes in my life, and before the wakes, I spoken to these people, and every single person was asking forgiveness from the ones that he likes and the ones that he didn't like in his lifetime. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That is our Christian obligation, not to dismiss any human being as a Christian. You know what I mean? Everybody's allowed to come to your wake. What he's doing is really not a very nice thing, you know what I mean? And it's not a Christian thing, by the way. You know what I mean? It looks more like a political thing and not a Christian thing. And that's the point that I want to make for Mr. McCain. You know, I hope he's well. I hope, you know, God can, you know, bring him strong, make him strong again, and give him more life. But what he's doing is not a Christian thing.
Larry, I want to thank you for the courage for having said that, because I agree with you. As Christians, we're commanded to turn the other cheek. And you said it's political. It's not Christian. It's all political with McCain. And I think politics, like power, has consumed him. Look, it's up to him. It's his funeral. But if I were him, I'd be concerned about much bigger things than inviting President Trump. I gotta go, my friends. Dinesh D'Souza will be on at 1:05. See you tomorrow. Jeff Cooner, Boston's Bulldozer.
The Cooner Report is powered by Kelly Financial Services. 888-800-1881. Get the peace of mind that you deserve at Kelly Financial Services. The voice of Boston is you. 680 WRKO Boston, 100.7 WZLX HD2 Boston, an iHeart radio station.